I'm 18 years old, student living separately from parents. I want to tell you a story happened to me this summer. Remembering and I feel a chill along my back. It was summer in the middle of a hot day, July. It was already chilly evening outside, difference from daytime. And I corresponded with my friend in social networks. My chat was full of friends' messages. Rewatching at the same time various videos on YouTube. I have some sandwiches freshly prepared. The only thing missing was creating the perfect atmosphere of warm tea. However, preparing it was not a problem. So I told my friend that I'm leaving for a few minutes. I went to the kitchen, turned on the kettle, and I stared out the window. It was already dark and cool on the street. There's no one around. A few minutes later, the kettle notified. I made some tea with their pieces of sugar. I put the mug on the windowsill to cool it down. I didn't want to go into a stuffy room, so I decided to wait for cooling the drink and enjoy the view of empty streets. 2 minutes later, a strange tall person appeared. He had a shaved head and wearing a white shirt with red paint on the collar. A huge old belt was visible in his hands. He walked at a slow pace, whistling some strange song, then stopped and stared in the window. First floor. By the way, I lived on the second one. I must admit I felt a little creepy. He was too wired. And why would a normal person look at other people's windows in the middle of the night? I didn't want to look at this for a long time, so I took the tea that had not yet cooled down and hurried to the room. There were more than 2 unviewed messages. I quickly told my friend about the stranger. It was obvious how implausible my story looked. Although my mate asked me to take a photo, I refused, citing the fact that stranger had already left. Actually, I just didn't want to see him again. This topic was quickly replaced by others. It's already dark outside. But I didn't think about leaving the internet, like my friend who just informed me that he was going to the shower, then sleep as he needs to wake up early and find out about his work. Sitting alone was much more boring, but because I didn't want to sleep at all, I decided to watch some videos on YouTube. I didn't have enough time to watch the video, lasting 15 minutes. I receive a message.
Dude, I just saw this, you won't believe it. I turned on the water in the bathroom while bath was filling up. I decided to sit in the kitchen. It was stuffy. I opened the window and stared out at the street, and suddenly I saw a man. Seems like an ordinary guy, but there's something strange about him. I don't even know. He was walking and humming some song later. Stopped near my house and he began to look at first floor windows for about 5 minutes. Looked up to the second floor. Well, I thought he was waiting for some friends. And then he looked through my windows right at me. He immediately stopped singing and a grin appeared on his face. Damn scary grin, I swear. And then he screamed with such an inhuman voice. The face changed as if it had turned black. Then I find something wet under my feet. The bathtub was overflowed, but I went to turn it off. Later, I'm back in the kitchen and he's no longer there. Maybe it just seemed it to me.
Apparently, I told you about him and you're not believed, although it seems strange to me too. But if you think about it logically, the man decided to walk. Maybe he was drunk, so he looks at other people's windows.
Wait in. There's a knock on my door. Who is there? I'll open it and text you later.
I kept watching videos, so I didn't notice that from the last messages have already passed 40 minutes, however. But I didn't care much about it. Most likely the neighbors probably came in. He's taking a bath.
Overflowed while he was staring at the man, and then forgot to contact with me.
After a couple of hours, I fell asleep. Tomorrow I had to go to college. The next day was enough quickly for me. I wanted to see my friend. By the way, he lives opposite my house. But then I remembered that he left about work, and he's probably not at home. I also didn't call him so as not to bother him. Until the evening, he did not appear on social media networks, although he was supposed to arrive no later than 5 p.m. To be honest, I started a little worry, but immediately calmed myself down so that he could go to his girlfriend's. It was almost midnight. I was overcome with thirsty. I poured cool water from the carafe and began drink while looking out the window. And suddenly that man appeared on the street again, in the same clothes, in the same form, and with the same song, with the same steps, the same stop near my house, and with the same gaze at first floor. I was shaking, but what happened next? He looked straight at me in my eyes. Then a malicious grin appeared on his face that I almost choked on water. Then his mouth opened incredibly wide and screamed heart-rendingly loudly. And oh my God, this scream! I've never heard anything more terrible. At that moment, it seemed to me that his face darkened and simply turned into black spot. His skin sagged almost to shoulders. Dropping the glass from my hands, I rushed into my room. I was shaking for probably 15 minutes after that. I couldn't come to my senses. I already wanted to lie down sleep, when suddenly there was a loud knock on my door, as if someone is on the other side of the door wanted to break it down. I was in a stupor and afraid to move. The knocking continued for half an hour. I passed out and woke up only at 1 o'clock the next day, not remembering. Maybe it was for the better. A few days later, memories from my head gradually washed away, and I blamed everything on imagination. And I was too exhausted. I was tired, and it was a fantasy, I thought, until I learned about the death of the friend, about the terrible death that I refused to believe in. The body was hung in the kitchen by the window. The head was neatly shaved. The collar of his shirt, in which he was planning to go for work, was stained with drops of blood that fell from his slit throat. His mother, with whom we were on pretty good terms, told me about this. As soon as I found out about his death, I understood who's to blame for this. Was he some kind of maniac? Or otherworldly force in the form of a person? I don't know, but since then I never look out the windows at night.